Now to the other big story today. One day after 84 people were killed and more than 200 injured in Nice, France, there is no clear motive for the attack. Today, the French Prime Minister said that the driver of the truck, Mohamed Boulal, was, quote, probably linked to radical Islam in one way or another, end quote. But so far, no link has been found and no terrorist group has claimed responsibility. We do know that Boulal had lost his marriage and his job before he attacked a crowd of thousands celebrating France's equivalent of the 4th of July. He entered a seaside promenade from a side street near a children's hospital. His 19-ton truck zigzagged more than a mile, barreling through the crowds. Outside the Hotel Negresco, the driver fired shots at police who fired back. The truck struck down more victims before the driver was shot dead. Elizabeth Palmer begins our coverage.
Here's the truck, a juggernaut, plowing down the boulevard. One brave man on a motorcycle tried to leap aboard and stop it, but failed. Then the police opened fire. But the truck sped away into the crowd, witnesses say aiming to hit as many people as possible. Panicked, they ran in all directions. And in the end, Mohamed Boulal barreled on for a total of 1.5 miles before he was stopped at last by a hail of police bullets, leaving a trail of dead and dying victims. Even before the ambulances got there, ordinary citizens did their best to help. Among the dead, there were at least 10 children and teenagers. Boulal was 31 years old, born in Tunisia, but resident in France, in a first-floor apartment in this nondescript building in Nice, in the middle of a messy divorce, having recently lost his job. You can still see Mohamed Boulal's name stuck to the doorbell of the apartment where he lived, estranged from his wife and kids. He was employed as a truck driver, and he was known to the police. He had a history of violence, but they say they never saw any indication that he'd been radicalized. His neighbor, Yasmin, agrees.
Sentait l'alcool pendant le Ramadan.
He stank of alcohol, even during Ramadan, she told me. It was his eyes, they scared me. This morning, police arrested Boulal's ex-wife, the neighbors protesting as she was led away. She remains in custody now as the police try to make sense of this attack, which for the French people recalls the deadly assaults in Paris last November that killed 130 people. But unlike those terrorists, Boulal wasn't well armed. In the truck, he had only one real pistol, which he used to fire at the police, but his other 3 guns were fakes, and his grenade was a dud.
Terroriste islamiste.
At a press conference this afternoon, the Paris prosecutor said he would be looking into possible links to criminal terrorist groups. But whatever the facts, another massacre in France has left fresh scars and aching grief. A little bit more light was shed on this tragedy today, Scott, when Mohamed Boulal's father gave an interview in Tunisia where he lives, and he did confirm that his son had a history of mental illness and had in fact suffered several breakdowns in the past.
Liz Palmer in Nice for us tonight. Thanks, Liz.